The ISCB-SC RSG India is your local window to global opportunities in computational biology. ISCB is a global organization based in the USA that drives computational biology forward through research, training, outreach, and community building. The ISCB Student Council, started in 2006, nurtures the next generation of computational biologists with RSGs in over 26 countries. RSG India connects and promotes a strong nationwide network of computational biologists linking local talent to global opportunities. We proudly collaborate with premier institutions including Mahindra University, NIT Calicut, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, IIT BHU Varanasi, and Srihar from Tamil Nadu. Here is the RSG India Core Committee for the year 2025 to 2026, supported by faculty advisors and visionary leaders across India. RSG India has successfully organized impactful events in the past, fostering collaboration, learning, and innovation in computational biology. Here are pictures from some of the events organized from 2023 to 2025. You can reach us through our website or connect with us on social media platforms. Now over to Abdul Aziz, Secretary of the Tamil Nadu Node, to brief about the student initiatives at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research.
Thank you, Harsiddhi. Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to everyone that have joined us this evening. I'm Abdul Aziz and the Secretary of Srihar Node of ISCB RSG India. Established in 2025, we are a student-driven community with a vision of creating a vibrant platform for aspiring computational biologists and bioinformaticians. Our goal essentially is to create a platform where bright minds can collaborate with researchers and industry professionals through events, workshops, and webinars, thus encouraging learning and collaborations. Next, I'd like to introduce the team behind this effort, consisting of members from both undergraduate and postgraduate levels across all of the years from the Department of Bioinformatics. This is a picture from our first successful event, introductory event held on campus at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. I'd like to give a special mention to the history board, Dr. Dickie John Davis and Dr. Abhinand P.A., Dr. Arundhati M. from the Department of Bioinformatics at Srihar. Speaking of which, established in 2003, the Department of Bioinformatics at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research offers both BSc and MSc in bioinformatics with a comprehensive curriculum blending the basics of biology and technology. We focus on hands-on learning, interdisciplinary approaches, while being on par with the latest developments in computational approaches in life sciences. Students from our department have gone on to make a difference in leading companies across the globe, such as Pfizer, AstraZeneca, EMBL, and Clarivate, and also into leading academic institutions such as University of Cambridge, TUM, the University of Saarland.
But not on the curation side, because even like in my last company also, I was not working, we are still working on the data itself, but we are not working on the manual curation. We are mainly writing the Python programming, Python scripts to like web scraping the data, pulling the data from the databases. Everything is the script based, algorithm based. So nothing on the manual side. But the only thing why, so there will be a question like where this bioinformatics can fit here. So all this can be like engineering students can also do this. But the thing is like bioinformatics is the main field where we can understand the biological data, and at the same time where we can do the we can write the algorithms. We know the computers, like we know the programming languages. So it's always important to understand the data, and at the same time we have to retrieve the data automatically, and we have to write the algorithms to define the patterns. So that's why bioinformatics people can have many opportunities in this field, because the data literacy is the major thing. So at least in the database companies, commercial database companies like Clarivate or anything, so bioinformatics people are will play major key roles, because we know the data and we know the programming side. So this is where this is where it evolved. So it evolved from manual curation, it went to computational analysis, and right now you can just give like what is this gene, like whether like elevation of this gene levels is going to increase the disease or not. So you can just ask the question because the data is already available across the databases. So you just need to have all this data available at one place, and you just need to ask the deep learn like AI a question like we have already have the AI agents. Even when I worked in my previous company, we built our own internal agents to answer the questions because customer will like earlier it was like customer used to go and search, he used to keep all the filters and retrieve the specific data he want. But right now, all the companies are moving to Gen AI, so where they just build the agents and customer just go and ask his own interest of the question, like whatever they want, his own interest of the gene or drug, whatever we have, the trials and the indication, whatever they want, they can just type it and they can get the complete information. So right now, everything was moved from manual search into the just Gen AI questions. Like you just ask the question, and it gives answer. So moving to the basic things, like why these companies evolved. So like Clarivate is the Thomson Reuters. So when I was there, so we were the first batch actually in Thomson Reuters. We were the first batch, and that is the time they have started this company, all the database companies. So pharma companies, they are there before. Diagnostic companies, they are there before. Genomic companies and the database companies, they are the companies which started after human genome sequencing is completed. Because once the human genome sequence is completed in 2003, it became easy to sequence any human genome. So right now, after the new NGS is involved, for sequencing the human genome, it hardly takes days. So this has built a massive amount of data, and to analyze this data, to interpret this data, we need to have it structured, structured databases. So that's where this Clarivate or like life sciences companies came in. So I would say life sciences. So even when the background, like, so generally, other than genomics companies, the life sciences companies where I work, they never specify they require the people from bioinformatics, biotech company, or like biotechnology, microbiology. They never specify that. They generally specify life sciences. So ultimately, we all fall under the category of life sciences when we go with these life sciences companies, because we have a science background, we have a biology background, so we all fall under life sciences background. Okay, so that's where like what different companies we have, like genomic companies, diagnostic companies, intelligence companies, pharma companies. So pharma companies existing there before, and intelligence companies and genomic companies, they started evolving from 2003 after human genome sequence is completed. So what is the basic reason why we need all these things? So we have the research organizations, they keep publishing the data. So who is the ultimate beneficiary? So it is always the major thing is it's always the patient outcome is the major thing which everyone works. So whatever data we work on or like whatever we generate today, the ultimate end beneficiary is patient. Whoever is the patient. It's ultimately we can be the patient also at the end of the day. So it's ultimately the patient outcome is important. So each one works for a different thing. So pharma companies, for the patient outcome, pharma companies develop a drug to treat a disease, and diagnostic companies, they helps in diagnosing the diseases. Genomic companies, they helps in identifying the gene structure, gene sequence, and any inherited DNA sequences. They help in identifying the genomic level things. And healthcare data companies, they help in structuring the complete data from all sectors. So everyone can use this. So the research organizations can use this, the patent companies can use this, and pharmaceutical companies. So the major ideal, I would say, like based on my knowledge or like based on my working, so our customers are always like pharmaceutical companies. So because they are the ultimate people who invest massively in the drug development life cycle. So each drug development life cycle, like it takes 10 to 15 years, and they invest from $1 billion to $3 billion. So this is where like they need a structured data. So ultimate everything, whatever we do, like whatever we do in research labs, we do in bioinformatic analysis, whatever data, the ultimate, it goes to the pharmaceutical companies and they develop it. Right. Sorry, any questions? I see someone else. So these are basics of why the data intelligence companies existing today. And next, moving on to the drug discovery ecosystem. I'm not sure like if everyone aware of this drug discovery ecosystem, but why I kept this slide is in my experience is completely involved in all of this things, because we have analyzed target identification. So we have analyzed in genes, proteins, biomarker identifications, and why all we require this biomarker identification is to identify a target. So the target should be tested, validated in the labs, and then based on that, a pharmaceutical company can go for the preclinical testing. So once preclinical testing is successful, then it goes for the clinical trials. Clinical trials is done, then they go for the drug approvals. So we have the drug approvals. So mainly if you go with the US, we have FDA drug approvals. In Europe, we have EMA, and in India, we have CDSCO. So these are the regulatory bodies which approve a drug, new drug, not the generic ones. So generic ones are the ones which already lost their patent. So for every new drug, we have a patent for 20 years. So once the patent is done, they'll be falling under generic drugs. So most of the companies in India, like Redis Labs, other Cipla, so they all manufacture generic drugs. But the companies like Novartis, Pfizer, these all go with the novel drugs. So these are the companies which need massive data analysis. So they need to hit a lot of target identifications. They need to have a lot of preclinical data. They need to have a lot of preclinical data, and then only they can take a decision making whether to go with this drug for this particular disease or not. So based on the information, once the drug validation is done, then it moves to the different stages. And if the drug is approved, then it goes to the market. So it's not the end of that. So from there, again, it goes to the market, again, it goes to the patient outcomes. And again, if it goes to, we need to see like whether patient is responding properly or not. If it is not responding properly, then drugs will be discontinued. If it is responding properly, again, the feedback goes to the pharmaceutical companies. Again, they check for the new indication. For the same drug, they'll try to go for the new indication. So the reason I have explained all this because I have worked in all these areas. So when I work with the Clarivate company, or I'm sorry.
Participants are requested to turn off their mics during the event. Thank you.
So when I work with the Clarivate, I work on all these databases. So I work with the DNA sequences, analyzing DNA sequences, protein sequences, biomarkers, clinical trials, drug discovery, deals. Deals is like company to company, they exchange their targets, or like they exchange their drugs, because one company gets approved the drug for a disease and it gives to other company to manufacture or like to test the clinical trials or to go ahead with the clinical trial thing. And at the end of the day, they'll share the profits for the drug discovery or the marketing rights they have. So whatever the work which I have done in the Clarivate or Thomson Reuters, the end users were like the end users, or like the end users is like for the drug development and the diagnostics and the clinical trial planning. So these are the major end use customers when I work with the Clarivate. After this, then I moved to H1. So H1 life sciences. So that is completely different. So Clarivate was completely manual efforts. We have done like manual curation, because at that time we don't have this deep learning technologies. We still have neural networks. So neural networks I learned way back in 2007 itself, like in my master's in bioinformatics. So when we were working in the Ramchandra itself, we learned the neural networks algorithms at that time, so neural models, but it was never implemented until recently, like 2021, 22. I joined in H1 licenses. There we have in like we have like developed a lot of algorithms, lot of logics, and a lot of libraries mainly to identify the patterns in the data. So example, I would say like, so I would say like there's one example I can give, which we work for Takeda. So we for Takeda they need a analysis like on particular drugs they need analysis like how the market is responding or like how the providers are responding, how the people are responding, or how the scientists are responding. So to do that, what we have done is like we built a lot of libraries with positives and negatives. So we generally call that as a sentiment analysis. So what we do is we prepare a list of libraries with all the positive outcomes, terminologies. When I say positive outcomes, like we build terminologies with positives, negatives, and neutrals, and we also say like drug is elevated, drug is underperformed, drug not performed. So we used to build huge library of all these terminologies, and then we used to run the algorithms, which goes around Twitter, which is sorry X right now, which goes around Twitter, like which goes to LinkedIn, which goes for again is the publications, clinical trials, patent databases, and it looked for the terminologies which we have given and the links which we have provided. So we generally say like if the gene is elevated and this is increased, then we say like that is a negative. And if the gene is elevated and this is decreased, so that is a positive. And if gene is elevated and this is showed no response, that is a neutral. So we try to categorize a lot of these things. And based on that, we provide a report to the Takeda. So that's how the sentiment analysis works. So we have done a lot of ad hoc work for the pharmaceutical companies. And at the same time, we have built a massive providers database. So when I say a massive, like, we have built a provider database of 9 million providers. So when I say providers, like they're the healthcare physicians. So 9 million healthcare physicians across the globe. So it's not just US, it's across the globe, including India also. So what exactly we have built there is, so ultimately, when a pharmaceutical company has done the, like, they got the preclinical research positive. So now they want to run a clinical trial. So to run a clinical trial, they need a provider to run it. So when they need a physician to run it, because except physician, no other providers or like no other persons will have the right to administer a drug to a patient. So to identify the providers, so who are the providers who particularly treat the disease? Because we have a lot of specialties. We have providers with a lot of different specialties. So who is the provider? What is the specialty and what kind of patients they treat? So we have given like, we have mapped a lot of different things. So for that, we have gone with the clinical trial data, the same thing. Clinical data is the one thing, provider database. So we have so all these things are like freely available databases across them. So it's only the major thing these data intelligence companies, what exactly they do is they try to bring everything together and try to interpret in a simple form, which helps pharmaceutical companies in a more simpler way. I'll just show an example of how we have done that. So this is the provider. So this is an example. This is a provider. RN Hayes. RN Hayes is a provider. So he's exactly focused on the rheumatology. So we have linked, like we have the linked publications, we have linked congresses, we have linked the diagnoses, how many clinical trials has participated, how much payments he received, what kind of procedures he have done. So these all require huge data to bring this data into a shape. Like this is a product ideally, but backend it requires a lot of data into shape. So if you see like he has given 49K payments with 1.8K diagnoses and 546 procedures. Just to bring this information, we used to run against 3 billion claims data to get this information. So it's manually, it's impossible. So we used to run the algorithms, we used to run the mapping, we used to run the deduplications, disambiguations. When I say deduplications and disambiguations, so one provider can be having multiple procedures. So one provider is coming from multiple sources also. So we used to run a lot of algorithms to separate all of them, and same name can be like we can have the same name for multiple providers also. So we used to differentiate based on the parameters. So we used to give weightage, like if he's this specialty and if he's having this particular key terminologies in their publications or their clinical trials. We used to give the weightage, and based on that we used to map it. So nothing manual here. It was like everything was used to the everything was using relationships. I should say, based on the relationships and disambig, we used to link this particular paper, this particular clinical trial, or this particular claim to this particular provider. So everything was programmed. And at the end of the day, as I was a data expert at that time, so I used to review all the data. And as a bioinformatics analyst, what I used to do is, because I was the first person in the H1 licenses, like because it was started when I was there, and I was the first licenses guy who was a licenses guy. So I was the one who explored the data, like who know the data of clinical trials, drugs, and everything, drugs, claims, congresses. So I'm because I already have that experience in pharmaceuticals, and at the same time I used to work on the programming language also. So I used to write Python scripts to automate the data. So and I used to give instructions like how the data should look like, what kind of relationships we need to link, like entity mapping should be there. Entity mapping in the sense each provider will be working for some hospitals or like some research organizations. So we have to map that also. And same provider can be working under different organizations also. So we used to map all those things. So how we used to do? So ideally, the first step at the raw data, we get all the data separately. Like we get the clinical trials data separately, we get the drug discovery data separately, we get the publication data separately, we get the claims data separately. Everything was getting separate. Everything we get the data separately. So at that stage, we generally call that raw data as a bronze layer. So everything we used to do this in the AWS. So our major technology or the cloud storage was AWS. So we used to everything we used to store it bronze layer. From the bronze layer, the actual computation starts. So now we have to map. So we have to map the provider names across all these databases, and we have to link them. So first we have to clean at the silver. So we have three layers: bronze layer, silver layer, gold layer. Most of the times, if whenever you go to cloud storage or like not only AWS, any other technologies, when you go to cloud storage, they always take the same technologies. It goes to the raw data and data cleansing, data standardizing, data normalizing, and from there, what we show at the product is a gold layer. So the data standardizing, data normalizing, we try to remove all the duplicates. We try to remove all the disambiguations. We try to remove all the duplicate entities and disambiguate entities. Once we have cleaned everything at the silver layer, then we connect everything at the gold layer. That is where what we see here on the screen. This is the ideal output we present it to the client. So for happening this, again, we have to do a lot of linkage. So we have to write a lot of workflows. So if this person is matching to this specialty, and if this is the article, so map to this person. So we have to write the waterfall logics. We used to have agile technologies, the waterfall logics. So we used to follow all these things, and we used to write all the logics. So if this person is matching to this particular data, link it. If this person is not matching, then go to the next. So we used to write all of these things and map the entire data to get this output. So it's not just providers. We used to do the same with the institutions. So right now, why I'm saying all this, these are the background work we have done. So, but what we are seeing here is ultimately what pharmaceutical companies face. So if I'm coming from a pharmaceutical background, and if I'm interacting with if I want to, like medical affairs team is the major bridge between pharmaceutical company and a data intelligence company. So what medical affairs team they need is, they need to identify a proper site So when I say a site, in the clinical terminologies, clinical site terminologies, when I say site, it is the location where a clinical trial can be done. So they need to identify a proper site. They need to identify a proper provider who can particularly work on this particular indication. And in the recent, from last 3-4 years, even FDA or like regulatory bodies, they given instructions to all the pharmaceutical companies that they have to go with the patient demographics data also. So when I say like patient demographics data, particular drug, like let's say some X drug, it may not work same for every person. So the drug might be quickly working for me, and it may not be working same for other persons. And if they are from other, because there can be different locations also. So there can be environmental factors. There can be There can be from different races. So there are a lot of different parameters where the drug cannot be effectively working in all the population. So the clinical trials now should also consider the patient demographics. Like they have to, if this location, they have to, in all the locations, they should be equal. Like because generally, previously, like all the drugs, whenever approved for the market, it was never approved for the white population or Hispanic or Asian population. It was never approved like that. Even now they are not approving, but they are actually asking for that particular data. Like this, when you are conducting a trial, you need to conduct on all different populations and make sure it is working across all populations. So this is where it works effectively. So that's where we used to have, we used to create a patient demographics data also. So from where patient, and trust me, like patient demographics data, claims data, site locations data, these data will not be available freely anyway. So this is the claims data is one of the major thing which we have to purchase, like even the companies purchase it and they try to map it. So this is not available freely. So that's where like this is the major data intelligence companies do max computations here and try to give the results. So just if you see like the race here, so for this particular location, patient demographics for this particular provider, he has treat white population 43%, Hispanic 29%. So if a provider is treating different demographic patients, so then he is the high chance to be picked by a pharmaceutical company for any trial. So this is how it works. So that's where like we try to give all that information. So just to give this output, we have to run all the demographic linkages and we have to run across the 3 billion claims data. So we used to take almost like 1 week to run this data and to update this. So whenever we get any claims data, new claims data, to do all these computations, to display the updated data, it ideally takes 1 week. Now, like after the deep learning technologies got improved, so right now it is taking around 3 days, but still it takes time to run across all this data. So this is how like we used to generate the patient demographics, claims data, and investigators data. And the KOL network is one thing. Like KOL network is when I say like providers data. So this is the ideal product we initially started. So building a providers data. Providers data is something I say like the profile of a physician. So why we need physician? I told like so even in India we have like if we have to go for a doctor, we have to look for the online. Like there are a couple of apps who say like this is the doctor who is having this much experience and he has treated this much patients and is having this much review. So same way, like I worked with the previous company in the same way, developing this KOL network, the KOL database. So but we have gone more than that. So that's where like we have gone with the linking their patient demographics, what kind of patients they are, that rate, what is their publications, what is the trial success ratio. If any pharmaceutical company is giving a trial to a particular provider, what is the success ratio? So we need to check that, and how many publications they have, how many patents they have. So we give more information on this KOL provider, and at the same time we try to see like how like this particular KOL, how many the contacts he have and who all he worked in different researches, because every KOL will also have the research publications. So because they might be working with research organizations or cancer organizations or any other immunology organizations, it can be like any disease, any therapeutic related organizations. So we used to give all that linkages so that if that particular provider is not available, they can go, the pharmaceutical companies immediately can go to the other providers. So everything is related to this. Like ultimately, the major product was the KOL provider. So from this, we gone with the like. So I will say like we started with HCP, like HCP Universe. HCP is like healthcare provider. And once we have built this, then we thought like we have a scope for going with the site selection. So we started with healthcare HCO, healthcare organizations, which is site selection. And then we went with the clinical trial landscapes. So which is like the clinical trial, like like how many trials are running at different locations. So that is a clinical trial landscape. And the last one is like drug discovery, like the drug development. So which drug is actually like which provider is proposing which drug right now and what kind of experience they have. So all this drug discovery information we used to provide. So that's why like, so initially I said like, so we work with all this. So there is a major experience what I have with life sciences and healthcare organizations. So what kind of data we have interacted with? So when it comes to healthcare and clinical data sources, we used to source all the NCT, like clinical trial registers. I hope most of you know that. See clinicaltrial.gov, we have like EU, EMA is there. So for India also we have a clinical trial registries. So we used to capture all the information, and for investigators, we used to capture all the patient information in every clinical trial. And for patient population, we used to go with the claims data. For real world evidence, we used to go with the same claims data and the pharmacovigilance data. And for healthcare organizations, we used to go with the hospitals data. So everything like whatever the data we have built with, like I dealt with like electronic healthcare records, lab data, imaging data, genomic data, healthcare data, treatment data, adverse events data. So like to prepare, like, and it seems to see like when you look at the healthcare like data intelligence product, it seems simple, but we deal with like hundreds of data sets, or not even hundreds, we see like thousands of data sets and millions and billions of data points and data parameters to bring to the shape. So why we need all these things at the deep learning level? So one, as of now, we have given all the data and we have mapped everything structured. So it became easy for a deep learning technology to predict whether this disease can cure or not. So this became easy right now. So that's where right now most of the focus is going with the precision medicine. So what has changed from earlier is it's clearly visible, like from manual curation, manual intervention, like everything. So now it went to validation and creating a different systems. So right now everything AI can do, like AI can do the analysis, AI can do, AI can predict. So what exactly our role, or like what bioinformatics people role comes is like still the major challenges in biology is the data is very complex. So you can never, I mean, you can't always 100% trust the deep learning or like, I say simply like AI, because it goes with, sometimes it goes with the hallucination of the data. Generally, even if you, even without reading an article, the AI try to give the answer. So it's always better AI give the data, but still it's always like as a biology student or like life science student, we need to validate whether this data is correct or not. If the data is not correct, where the AI agent is going wrong, we need to give that information to the system architect, and we have to make sure the system is designed properly. And again, we have to validate the data, and whether again we have to check whether predictions of the AI is correct or not. Because if you ask any question, the AI gives the answer. Like so and so disease is like so and so disease is increasing because of the particular biomarkers levels are different. And if you ask like what is the evidence, so sometimes it will say like no, I don't have any evidence. It was just a hallucination of the data, depends upon the previous data sets or like previous data patterns available. So that's where it's always important, like a manual validation is important. And where the AI is still challenging is like still the rare diseases. And I can give you an example. Like rare disease is one of the best example. We don't have enough data sets available in the rare diseases. So even today, even in our data intelligence company database also, we don't have much information on the rare disease because we hardly see lesser publications for the rare diseases. So when there is a lesser data, AI will not work properly because for a deep learning to give proper predictions, proper predicted outcomes, it needs to analyze lot of massive data analysis, or like you need to go with a lot of pattern predictions. So without that, AI will always give the wrong data. So at least like on the what is it, like at least on the rare diseases, it's impossible, and at the biology level, it is very complex. Like when it goes with biological pathways, and at least at a higher level, it's still the biologists are required. So it helps in disease prediction, response prediction, patient stratification, clinical trial success prediction. So this is one example, clinical trial success prediction. So right now the companies, so when we are, so that was the last product which we have developed, clinical trial success prediction, clinical trial outcome analysis. So earlier, like we used to have all the data, all the clinical trial data, all the drug data, everything is available, but we still want to create one more product. So we thought like this is the clinical trial outcome analysis, one of the product which we can give more information to the customer. So we can say like because we have like clinical trial it's simple, I'll say. So we have a lot of data. Example, if I say like for the cancer itself, we have like 3 lakh trial data is there. So using the trial data, we can predict like outcome analysis. It's not like 100%, but we can predict like whether this trial is going to be success or not at this location or at this particular like with this particular provider, because we already have the enough information on the providers, we have the site, we have the indications, and with particular drugs, we already have enough data. So based on this data patterns and based on the already available structured data, we have created one more product like structure outcome analysis, whether this trial is going to be successful or not. It can be depends upon the drug reaction or drug efficacy. It can be depends upon the provider. It can be depends upon the trial site also. So based on these patterns, we have tried to create a new product. So that is one thing which is completely using the algorithm, like using the deep learning technology. So this is done, patient case, claims. And the final thing is the way right now deep learning is useful, or like we are most of the, not we, like right now deep learning is being used. It's in imaging analysis, it's in genomic modeling, disease prediction, and drug discovery, and disease progression. So we have a lot of deep learning models. Like I don't go in details because I didn't work in all of these things, so I'm not the right person to go. But I know, like, because we are working on the technology data, so we know like how the data works and how the each model works and how it is analyzing the data. So we have the CNN, we have the transformers, we have DNN, we have autoencoders, and so CNN works mainly reading all the images and try to identify the tumors, and at the same time predict mutation impacts. Deep learning, it's cancer classification, disease prediction. So these are the deep learning models which mainly currently in use. I think this is most of the things I told. Sorry, any questions? So right now, I just give clear answer where bioinformatics role is important. So as I said, like, so I'm from a bioinformatics background, and I worked on the discovery informatics, translation informatics, because I worked on the mechanisms. I worked on the omics, genomics, proteomics, transcriptomics, data integrations, and I worked on the patient stratification, biomarkers, trials I worked, and EHR claims data I worked, pipeline data I worked. So what exactly I suggest for any bioinformatics student right now is try to understand the data. The basic thing what you have to do is try to understand the data, whichever data is like, because everything is like a biological data. Try to understand the data. That is the best thing, which gives more options when you in the industry, at least like the commercial companies, commercial industries. When you understand the data, it's always easy for you, for us to work on the data, build the data, and build the algorithms and predict and build the predictive analysis algorithms also. So it's more of because the data analysis will be really important for the, at least like for biology students. So the data literacy is a major important thing when we are working as a bioinformatician. So even Novartis, like example, like Novartis is one of the company where they have the bioinformatics scientists. So why the reason I said Novartis is because my wife, she works in the Novartis as a senior manager. So she works in the competitive intelligence. And one more, yeah, I forgot, like competitive intelligence is also one of the biggest data field in the pharmaceutical companies. It was not mostly data. The data intelligence companies will also work on that, but I never worked on the competitive intelligence database. But my wife is she's already working there, and she's in the. And one interesting thing is, she's also from National University, but she's from biotechnology. Okay, so she's a senior manager right now working in Novartis, and she works with the bioinformatics scientists also. So where they analyze the drug. So bioinformatics scientists in Novartis mostly work with the target identification, target analysis, data identification. So mostly they work mostly on the initial stages of the clinical trials. And this is the one which I started recently, the future trends in AI. So this is the last one I want to cover. So digital twin healthcare is one thing which I started my trainment technologies. So I haven't still published my website because I'm still researching what exactly the idea behind the digital twin healthcare is. So I'll try to explain like what exactly digital twin. So digital twin is exactly the replica of a physical body. So right now, if we see in any manufacturing industries or like any, even let's take example of manufacturing industry like car. If you're manufacturing in the car manufacturing industries, or robotic arms is one of the interesting things. So robotic arms, right now we see a lot of robotic arm manufacturing industries are in place. So they, whatever the physical uh, body they are creating, they create an exact replica in the digital also. And they make sure, because all the robotics works with the sensors data. So they try to read all the sensors data and try to create a digital model of it. So suddenly if any robotic arm company is suddenly stops working, it immediately gives the sensor data, sends the data to the digital world, like sends the data to the software. So where it will be displayed in the digital software. So in the digital twin, it will highlight where exactly the problem is. So right now, like earlier days, like when we get some problem at home, we try to see like where, like let's take example like electricity. So we have some problem at some part of the electricity problem at home. So we don't know, like the electrician should come and he has to search the each and every board or like each and every part of the electric connections and identify where exactly it is. But the digital twin exactly helps to avoid all that. So right now in the robotic arm field, I see majorly in the robotic arm, even I see in the cars also. Like example, like even in the cars also right now I see we have a digital dashboard. So suddenly if our tire gets flat, it is indicated on the or it is indicated on a digital dashboard. So how this is happening? Because there is a sensor and it indicates that okay, your tire is flat. Exactly the same concept I'm trying to, so this is completely new, it's not available completely. So what exactly the same concept I'm trying to do still research, but this requires massive research also. So I'm trying to create a digital twin of a human body. So right now I'm starting with the uh, basic hand and basic blood pressure things. I started creating a uh, digital world of it. So just to make sure, because we can read the data of ourselves. So we have right now we have the wearables, lot of wearables, which can detect our blood pressure, our heart rate, or our pulse rate. Uh, Examples are our beat, our sugar levels, our glucose levels. So right now there, and at the same time we have the ECG reports, we have the MRI scan reports, and so we have many reports available in the market. So what I felt is like, okay, let's use all those data and try to create a digital body of a human, exactly representing the person, and try to interpret the results, whatever we see on the paper, in the digital. So suppose a person is having, so he's having a issue in the heart or in the hand, in the shoulder. So our digital twin should be able to show where exactly the problem is, what exactly is happening. So our digital twin should make sure, because right now a lot of people, that is even myself, we don't understand the complete medical data. Like if the doctor will see like X-ray report or anything, and they say there's a problem here, and we understand we have a problem, but we don't know where exactly the problem is. We understand there is a clot, we know there is a clot in our mind or like brain or anything, but we don't know where exactly it is. So my idea is to create a digital body of it, and with all the data available, let's create a perception, we can say perception, and where exactly it is happening. So that digital twin gives a clear information of our own body, and it can help us to prevent the upcoming diseases, or prevent or diagnose before any serious things occur. So this helps in treatment also, this helps in treating the patient effectively. So ultimately, again, it comes to a patient outcome. So this is the ultimate goal of the digital healthcare, which I am working on. But it's I don't have much information because I'm still researching on it. But this is ultimately one of the next coming up future field, which is going to, because right now in the current situation, nothing is impossible. That is what I suggest. Nothing is impossible because we have a lot of data, we have a lot of technology, we have a lot of agents available, everything is available. Even without much knowledge, we can learn a lot of things and we can create a lot of products. And as AI is becoming very like efficient and very very available to everyone, the personalized products or personalized softwares will be increasing. So everyone can create their own, like everyone can become their own entrepreneurs by creating it. But before becoming entrepreneur, I would suggest like first do a lot of research and make sure like we have enough budget. We have to make sure like we have enough budget at least to 2 years, minimum 2 years to run a company, because there will be a lot of expenses for the employees, operational expenses, other offline expenses. So there will be a lot of things. So if anyone want to become entrepreneur also, it's always good. With the current technologies, it's easy to develop a new product, anything, and even the bioinformatics insurance, we have a lot of data sets, and even there are a lot of untouched data still available for a lot of diseases. Because many diseases right now, if you see, even cancer also. So there are a lot of drugs, a lot of treatments available. Still, the diseases are increasing, the patient mortality is increasing, because not every drug is treating the patient. A lot of drugs, they are trying to silence the symptoms. That's all. So there are still a lot of data untouched. So with the current technologies, as a youngsters, you guys will have a lot of knowledge than as a test. Than me, you guys will have a lot of knowledge, and you guys will have many good ideas, innovative ideas, where you can explore the data and create more new products. So that is where I suggest like you guys can go with it. And that ends my journey till now. Now, just moving on to the questions. I'm not sure like if I can answer all the things, but I just try to give a glimpse of what are the questions I got. So how do deep learning models help in stem cell and regenerative medicine? So how do you think AI? So I just grouped a couple of questions because most of them comes into the same category, because AI deep learning models is a subset of machine learning, and machine learning is a subset of AI. And AI is going to help us in treating the genetic disorders, of course, because AI can read the genetic data, AI is analyzing the data, AI can predict the outcome. So uh, based on the available data, AI can say this particular genetic disorder is due to the hereditary or this particular mutation. It can help you in analyzing the data. So all these four questions fall under the same thing. Is it boost AI is going to boost the bioinformatics sector? Of course, because whatever the journey I shared all so far, it has boosted a lot of things because we have a lot of data and right now it is analyzing everything and our role will be like improving the computational methods and improving the disease prediction outcomes. So it can identify, like AI is doing the gene expressions, gene mutations, and there is one interesting database I think most of you guys are already using. So there is one in database which I have like DeepMind, like AlphaFold. So that is a protein structure prediction. So AlphaFold is one thing which have millions of protein structures. So you can create a protein structure immediately. At least when we are studying, to create a protein structure, it used to take many hours or like it used to take days. But right now with AlphaFold, like AlphaFold tools, it's easy to create a protein structure or it is easy to identify a protein structure. It is easy to analyze it and it is easy to predict any disease or like support the diagnosis also. So right now AI is doing a lot of things. So AI is already doing all of these things. So that's why I grouped everything into one this category. And in which areas clinical trial research, in which areas of clinical research can AI be implemented? Limitations of learning, deep learning in drug discovery, limitations in AI in pharmacology. Okay, so clinical research, in which area clinical research can AI be implemented? Clinical research, I already said like it's implemented in clinical trial analysis. So predicting the outcome analysis is one thing, site location is one thing, provider identification is one thing, depending upon the provider expertise, and drug performance, drug efficacy is one thing. It can view the data, and target identification is one of the major things. So in simple things, so even though AI can implement in clinical research, there is one thing which is not changing or which may not change in the recent time, like at least a couple of years or next couple of at least the next decade. The thing is like AI in the clinical research can be helpful up to preclinical research. So when it comes to clinical research, it always needs the human intervention. So without humans, we can't complete clinical trial phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or phase 4. Phase 4 is like complete marketing, but phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, this is not changing with AI. Even though you have AI, this still needs a human intervention. So that's why the drug discovery timeline up to preclinical research is able to reduce half. Like earlier, it used to like 2 to 7 years up to preclinical research. Now that 7 years is reduced to 3 years. But at the same time, the 7 years to 15 years of time which is required for clinical trials, that is still there. Because AI can't replace the human intervention. Because ultimately the outcome is a patient and the drug should be tested in a patient. So this is still existing. So AI can be implemented in clinical research, but up to preclinical only. And post-marketing, we can implement, analyzing the pharmacovigilance data or like claims data. And limitations of deep learning in drug discovery, one of the important things is like biological complexity. So the biological data is very complex. We have many sequences, many relationships, protein-protein interaction, drug-drug interaction. This interaction data is very complex that AI, like deep learning, can still needs a human intervention. And the rare diseases. Race is one of the things. And finally, whatever we do at the end of the day, it requires a human validation. And skills required in AI and roadmap to deep learning. So this is the final question, I think. Yeah, this is the final question. So for all the bioinformatics, biotechnology, or any medical informatics students, the basic suggestions, what I give is data literacy is the first thing. Understand the data, try to explore the data, analyze the data, and try to interpret the data. So this is a basic thing. I suggest everyone, the data literacy is the important thing for upcoming students or like upcoming entrepreneurs, everyone. Without understanding the data, you will never know whether AI is giving correct answer or not. Next, the programming language. Python. Python is a must programming language. I hope even every educational institutions they are following, they are making students. I mean, like they have this in their curriculum. Python is one thing. Next, machine learning, deep learning. So machine learning and deep learning, they are both are integrated. So these are the major things to get into your career as a bioinformatics scientist, or like if you want to become bioinformatics, or if you want to get into a commercial, like commercial industries or pharmaceutical companies, or like any CRO research organizations. These are the basic skills which is mandatorily required. And it's always best that all our resumes or anything, right now everything has changed. So even I should say sometimes like even I'm learning now, because whatever we have done so far, like a couple of years back, everything was automated. So even I'm learning still, I'm still learning machine learning, I'm still learning deep learning. I'm still understanding a lot of healthcare data, because I never knew, I don't know a lot of things about CMS data, Center for Medical Access data. So it has a lot of huge data on the healthcare sector. So even still, I'm learning all those things. So learning is a thing which we have to keep doing it. So it never ends. But these are the basic things we need to enter into any commercial industries. Okay, so I think this is my journey so far. Thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity to share my insights and my experience. So any questions, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks for your, thanks so much. Thanks everyone for your patience. I don't know how long I took, but thanks everyone for your patience. And thanks
Yes,
for.
you were on time in completing. Thank you, sir.
Thank
So
you.
participants, you could type your questions in the chat, or you could unmute yourself to talk with the speaker directly. Yes, sir. If I may ask you a question.
Yes, please.
As a fresher, what are the biggest challenges a new hire in similar roles like these might face? Like fresh out of college and they're getting into bioanalytics and bioinformatics based roles. What are the challenges that they can expect, and how would you suggest they overcome that?
So I would suggest, so as a fresher, right now there are very chances. I mean, like, so right now after the AI is in place, so everything AI is analyzing, right? So as a fresher, we need to see how AI tools are working, how they are analyzing the data, and what very exactly there is a gap for AI and the requirement. So first we need to identify the gap between the market need and what AI is generating. So when you can fill the data, that is the easy entry point for the freshers. Because most of the time, right now, with the current technologies, most of the things got automated. Whatever, like at least I said, like whatever we have done in Thomson Reuters or like whatever we have done in Clarivate, everything got automated. So the only thing is like you need to understand all the data sets. So if any pressure is coming into job roles, the basic thing I suggest is try to explore the data of different data sets, like clinical trials, or drug data, or patient data, or providers data, target data. So first you need to just understand, because once you understand the fundamentals of each data set, everything will be easy for you to explain. Then you need to learn these basic things like machine learning, deep learning models, how they work, and how they're integrating, and how it is identifying the patterns. So these are some of the basic things a fresher need to understand. It's not a pressure like, even if I'm trying, example, like if I have to try a bioinformatics scientist, I have to go it as a fresher knowledge only, because all these technologies came in last 1-2 years only. So think like everyone is fresher right now. So some like there shouldn't be any demotivation with the technologies. It's like, I think everyone is like a fresher right now. Even I feel right now fresher, and even I'm learning all these things because machine learning, deep learning, I never, like, I was not an experienced guy. So we know, like, we run a couple of algorithms, we create relationships, and we create mappings, everything. But on the predictive outcomes, we have never done the predictive outcomes. So how we deep learning is doing that, even we are still learning on it. So it's always the basic thing is like understand the data. So data literacy is a major thing for all the different data sets. So because the ultimate for any research, or for at least like on the human research, for any researchers ongoing, or for any pharmaceutical companies, diagnostic companies, the ultimate goal is patient outcome is the ultimate goal. So what are the data sets involved in all these things? You just need to have a glimpse of it. Then only it's always easy. Like you can stand unique in the market when compared to a lot of other people. Hope I answered at least a bit better. Because I search like even I search like a fresher only. Even I learn as a fresher right now because everything is new in the market right now.
Yes, sir. I have a follow-up question. So, as you mentioned that when we are studying in academia and the kind of data sets that we deal with when we're working on research projects are different, right? So, how would you suggest and advise students to bridge that gap? Like, what kind of websites and data sources would you ask us to explore to know what is happening in both sides of the career prospects?
So on academy side, I'm not sure what exactly data sets, but what I suggested is like go for the uh, at least like on the research side. Like if for example, I said like cancer research is it. So think like cancer genome database is there. So there are still a lot of cancers which are untouched, which are not explored, or like genome is not explored. Cancer genomes are not explored. So try to identify that and try to create a link which gene is particularly involved, and try to go for the drug, or like which drug is treating this kind of disease already in the market. Try to bridge a gap for your own analysis and see like what kind of trials already running for that particular drug for other indications. So there can be possibility that right now with available data, there will be a lot of data patterns, or like uh, similar data is already existing somewhere across the internet. So it's only like you need to try to bridge the gap. So whenever, that's what I said, you have to think patient outcome as a primary thing. So to further, what is required? What is the data required? So on the academic side, I'm not sure like what kind of data, because even on academic side, I learned blast sequence analysis tools majorly. So it was useful for me initially. But after that, it's more of when I entered into this AI algorithm and AI implementation roles, it's always like mapping different data sets. So you need to build the connections of all the data. So every data is connected to other data. So if it is not connected, we need to try to bridge a gap between, like we need to try to understand the relationships and try to build a bridge between them. So that's how you will understand everything. So example, I said like cancer genome data, we still have a lot of genomes data untouched. So you can try to build a gap. You can try to go for the clinicaltrials.gov, what kind of trials are running, what kind of drugs are running, and what kind of drugs are treating which indication. And again, you can tag to that genome database or genome DNA sequences database, and you can see what kind of whether how this gene, or like how this gene expression is happening in different patients or like different diseases. So you can do a massive analysis across these things. So think of primarily think of a disease. When you think, like I would suggest is like think of any therapeutic area, or like think of any therapeutic area and try to come down. So why this disease occurred? So what is the reason behind it? Is it a gene expression, protein expression? And then go to the analysis of that particular DNA. Then go to see what is the functional annotation of it. Then see which pathway is getting changed. Then try to understand which drug is acting on that particular pathway, and what are the trials existing. So try to you can build a full network of it. just for your understanding as a fresher, to learn how this commercial industries are working. I'm not
Yes,
sure
thank
if it answered.
And there is a question in the chat, sir.
So if we don't have enough data to train machine learning model, what is the right way to use synthetic data? And how can we validate model using real data? So that is a challenge as well. So deep learning, whenever we have deep learning, so whenever we are using the deep learning technologies, if we don't have, and machine learning models are one thing which works at higher level. So machine learning models will never predict the patterns, will never detect the patterns. So it's always the deep learning which go with the pattern detection. Machine learning always detects at a higher level. For machine learning, it doesn't require huge data. So even if you give like hundreds of data sets to machine learning, it can just predict the patterns between. It can just predict the outcome from that data. So it's always deep learning which predicts the patterns and gives the accurate, because deep learning works with the multiple layer networks. So for that deep learning, it was always required that we need a huge data. So when we don't have huge data, then at least in the current situation, you can just understand what exactly outcome it is predicting and try to validate it. But it's always better that we don't depend, at least like I would say, like for other data, you can depend 70-30%, 70% AI, 30% manual intervention. But at least like for rare data, I always say like 20-30% AI, 70% of the human intervention. Right. So that is what my understanding, or like the knowledge I have so far. So you can train machine learning models, but the thing is like you can predict the outcome as 100% perfect. Okay, so that is a basic answer I know, because I didn't work. We didn't train much on the rare disease data. And when it is data is less, obviously expect that the accuracy will be very less, data accuracy. Okay, so any more questions?
Yes, sir. If, as you mentioned, there was a lot of description of the work that you have done. So, what kind of companies work on similar projects and uh, career paths?
So right now, so you have different companies. So I would say, at least for the freshers who are upcoming now, you have a lot of chances in the pharma companies right now. So earlier, when we were in working in the Clarivate, we hardly see the only pharmaceutical company in Hyderabad was Novartis. I think like Novartis was the only one company. But today I see many companies, like I see Pfizer, I see Novartis, so Novartis already listing, Sanofi, Sandoz, Amgen, and many of my colleagues, they are now on the director level or senior manager level or team managers levels. They're all my colleagues are getting, so because they have started a lot of pharmaceutical companies, at least like you might have heard in the news, like right now India is becoming the not services based. Right now India is becoming the target for GCCs, global capability centers. So pharmaceutical companies are mainly focusing in building the global capability centers in India. It can be any location in India. So there are a lot of companies who are going to. So it is like for you guys, like you guys have a good opportunity to work with the pharmaceutical companies. But the major thing is like go with understand the programming languages, machine learning, deep learning, and all the data set. Because pharmaceutical companies, they never hire a person with one particular knowledge, at least with a master's background, because they hire mostly with the uh, what do you say, like M-Pharm is the one of the major field pharmaceutical companies they hire. Like M-Pharm is a major field because they work with drugs data. And bioinformatics people, they majorly work with analyzing the before preclinical research data. and my wife, she's also working in cooperative intelligence data. So if you and bioinformatics people, they have good chances in working with the clinical science, CDM data, and clinical trial documentation data, and all the preclinical research data. So they have good chances. So pharmaceutical companies, they have all these departments with them. And so when they are building global capability centers, they will have all these departments. And right now, Amgen, whatever companies, Sanofi, Sandoz, they just started 1 year back. So I think the current freshers will have a lot of opportunities. But only thing is like try to modify your resume and make sure you include most of the AI technologies or like AI related terminologies to get it. Because right now all the resumes, everything is automated and it screened through AI. So if we just go with the academic terminologies, it's hardly to get, it will be a little bit tough to get into the commercial companies. And on the intelligence databases, I say like Clarivate is it, H1, we have Informa is there. We have Global Data is one more company, and we have HG Analytics is one more company. Micro Genomics or like Microomics is one of the companies. So there are a couple of companies which are working. But thing is like these are already getting automated and they're moving from on a like from data structured data to analyzing the data. So they are moving. So they also need to generate, but what like they also need to evolve more with AI because these are already got structured. So they are already reducing the stuff and they're working more with the AI tools. But pharmaceutical companies is one of the things, and genomic companies and diagnostic companies. So these are companies which are currently increasing in India. So at least for freshers, it's always a good opportunity that there are higher chances that GCCs are building in India. So you guys can try on the pharmaceutical companies. The first suggestion I said, like try for pharmaceutical companies because I have seen like a lot of recruitment happen. At least like for not for the freshers, but for the senior people. But even for freshers with knowledge of whatever I said, it gave a good edge to get into them.